Hello, everyone. Welcome to Xponentialize Live. And we have. There you go. Welcome.
The bell.
We have a very special guest, Mr. Connor Hill. Thanks for being on, Connor.
Thank
And
you.
where are you? Whereabouts are you? What are you up to?
I'm in Puerto Vallarta, and I'm actually
Oh,
like downtown Puerto Vallarta. That's why you see the cathedral there. There you
is
go.
everyone very sexy from there? Because it sounds like a very sexy place.
They are actually. There's a lot of sexy people here. It's amazing. And I actually should show you. Check out my hotel room. Like, I'm out on a terrace.
Oh,
Woo!
it looks
And
very
then
sexy.
and then
Ooh la la.
inside, boom.
Wow.
How did I do
Looks
that? There you go.
amazing.
Oh yeah, it's so cool. It's
Cool. So,
really, really amazing.
yeah, I wanted to have you on here because you're definitely one of the people that I would say have been like someone that I can say is truly different and living from like, you know, the difference that you are and, creating your life in a really different way. And so, I mean, I don't know, take us back maybe to the like when's the first time that you realized you were different and you weren't normal and you weren't like everyone else?
Oh, awesome. Well, first, let me say thank you for that because it was only just like 2 days, only in the last like week or 4 days, even, that have I actually been starting to really acknowledge how different I've created my life. Like, I've spent so much of my attention on like what I desired and what I wanted to create and things that, like, in a super OCD way. But, like I was just talking to like normal people, whatever. And I'm like, oh yeah, no, you got to travel here, and no, you should travel there. And then I'm like, oh wow, I'm very different. But really, really, like there were a number of times. The first time, I don't know, I wouldn't say I actually started recognizing it, but I remember when I was like, God, I don't know, I might have been 12. When I was a teenager, I was walking with a friend at the time, and he was like, "You're weird," and I'm like, "Thanks," and he was like, "That wasn't a compliment," and I was like, I like it."
I'll take it.
I'm like, that's cool. I'm like, I think weird's, but I didn't like say it out loud. I'm like, huh, it's weird that that's not a compliment, because
Yeah.
that sounds like a great compliment. Which, I mean, that was me. It was like I probably used, like, now I might not be so good at it, but I used to just like take judgments with like, huh, cool. I was like very in my own world.
Yeah.
So, and then I would say later on, I really started, because I guess I spent probably most of my time being very confused by everybody else. And then I really started noticing, like, I, I guess, like, to answer your question, when I really became, like, started acknowledging, wow, I'm like different. Like, what goes on in here is so different compared to everybody else. Was I was probably around 22. Actually, it took that long before I really was like, this thing works so different than
Yeah.
everything
Well,
else out there.
I love that about you because there's never a
Thank
dull
you.
moment hanging out with you and, let's call it Connor's brain.
Yeah, thank you. Because there's definitely never a dull moment hanging out with you either.
Yeah. And so, so it's like, I guess one of the things when I look at like as well the way that you're creating your life, like it seems to be as well very much of like what like what brings you joy and what's fun for you. And I know you've always like made that like a I guess like a priority, but I think that is also something that's really different that like actually takes quite a bit of courage to choose. So
Thank you.
yeah, and I mean like what is that for you? Like how do you, because I know you have a very different point of view about what like creating your life is, and what is it like, what is a what is creation for Connor?
Well, I think, it, like, interestingly enough, prior to getting involved in access consciousness like really heavily, I didn't think you could change the world. I was just like, world is the way it is, it's fucked. and then right around when I really started doing Access, I'm like, well, with Access, I was like, holy fuck, we can actually change the world. And then because I thought I could change the world, like I started giving up a lot of the things you're talking about. Like yesterday I went scuba diving for the first time in 5 years. And I'm like, it's been 5 years? Why did I wait so long? What is wrong with me? I lived in Australia for like 2 years. I didn't scuba while I was there. What the hell is what's going on? And even hanging out with you, it was like you'd always be like, let's go surfing. I'm like, no, I have to do work. But at least in my head, um, so really I've really been making it it's like I've been making it more of a priority to have fun. Like I have to. Like I can't not. And I realized I was very different very recently. A mutual friend of ours, Christine, asked me, she's like, well, if you were to kill yourself, how would you do it? And I was like, oh, easy. It's been the same answer ever since the first time that question was asked to me, or like if I ever thought about it, when I was like 6, I was like, I would jump off a building. I'm like, go find the highest building, the highest cliff, the highest bridge, something, and jump off of it. And I'd be like, woo! And just close my eyes.
I thought you were going to say plane without a parachute, but
Oh, yeah, that too. If I could figure out, like, I hadn't really thought about how I might be able to jump out of an airplane without a parachute. Now, yeah, I mean, now I would just go. I'm like, I'll go parachuting, and then I would be like, take my parachute off on the way down or something like that.
Yeah, or just never release it.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. I'm like, oh, I shouldn't talk about it, but I'm going to. Yeah, because in learning to skydive, I actually read, like, you can read all the, like, every time someone dies in skydiving, you can read about it. Because I was like, I still had this worry in my world of like, well, what if something happens that I, can't control and then I die? But I read through every time someone died, they like write what happened and all the information that they can. And every single one of them, I was like, oh, that's totally avoidable. That's totally avoidable. That's totally avoidable. So I never came across a single like instance where, the situation was out of the person's hands. Like they could have done something, they could have been more aware, something. And one of them, I don't remember any of them except for one that I read where when they found the person on the ground, the person had literally sewn shut the parachute. I was like, that person probably tried to kill themselves like at least one jump earlier and then freaked out and then was like, no, I have to, I can't kill myself. So they opened it. And then this time they're like, I'm doing it for sure. I'm going to sew it shut so I can't save myself.
Got grandma to like, do like double stitch so it really,
yeah,
really stayed.
Like, yeah. It's like, I'm making sure I do it this time. It was like, because I also didn't want to mess up. I was like, God, I don't really want to mess that up. Like I got to make sure that if I'm going to do it, I'm doing it.
Yeah.
So that was, and actually when Christine asked me that, she was like, oh, you're always going to have fun. And I was like, huh, you are right. I never truly looked at it that way, but that's what I always chose, was the thing that was going to be fun.
Yeah. And I guess that's like that thing where when you be it, you can't always see it in yourself, but it's like kangaroo balls for everyone else.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good point. It's like It's like yeah. It's like I'm probably not much fun to be around when I'm not choosing what's fun. In fact, I can definitely guarantee I'm not.
Yeah. Well, I don't think any of us really are.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. Cool. And I mean, so this group is like, lots of people that are different and acknowledging the difference of them. And we talk a lot about like the X-Men tools and everything. And so I know, for you, like what are some of the things that you've recognized about you in terms of I guess ADD, ADHD, like all of that sort of stuff, and how have you sort of used it to also create your life, or like had a different possibility with it?
Well, luckily for me, like I was going through university and I actually took pills for ADHD because I couldn't pay attention while taking tests. And I was literally my whole life, I was the last person to finish a test in school. And most of the time I never like finished it. Like the last 5 questions, I was like, oh, there. And so in university, it was like, I got prescribed so that it was because I had a friend that had ADHD and he's like, oh dude, you gotta like get prescribed and all this stuff because then it's way easier to study and it's way easier to take a test when you're on medicine, and and they also give you more time for the test and all this stuff. So I did that, but I never really wanted more time for the test because then you want to sit there anyway in the first place. I was like, fuck, I gotta be here for another half an hour after this. I'm like, I don't think I'm gonna do any better. Like, I don't really want to be sitting here, so like, I'll just hustle the last 5 minutes anyway, rather
Anyway,
than rather than like make it all excruciating for another 30 minutes or something. And then I got into, I went into engineering in the working world, and I was working with this one older guy, and he's like, you kids and all your ADHD, you can't pay attention. Because we're out on a construction site. So, like people don't really hold back on a construction site. They're like constantly yelling at each other. Maybe not always, but where we were. And he's like, you young kids, you can't pay attention to anything, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I can't fucking pay attention to anything because you're not moving fast enough.
I like it.
So it was really just like, I just, I did start to realize it's like my attention, and maybe you're probably the same way, and so I'm sure a lot of people are out there. It's like your attention goes elsewhere when there's just not enough coming in. You're like, okay, boring, moving on. Like,
and it's such a good point because so many people, I think, like make themselves wrong and try to slow themselves down in order to fit what people are like expecting of them, rather than like just being as weird and different as they are, and like going for it 100 miles an hour because it's fun to, and it like it's way easier actually.
Well, and I'm realized like the X-Men tools have been so amazing because it's like that thing of like actually talking about what you have going on. It's like recently I've really gotten a lot better at it, in where like when I was younger, if I had a math problem, I would just go straight to the answer. And the teacher would be like, you have to show your work. And I was like, I don't get it. What the fuck do you mean show my work? Like, that is it. I don't understand. There are no steps between here and here. But actually, I've realized there were like 1,000 steps that I did in my head in about a half a second. And so now I'm getting better at like realizing what those steps are for other people, and then like actually saying them out loud. And then when I actually do that, people are like, what? Like, you thought of all of that? So it's like, rather than going to like, I've got it all figured out, and then like just getting frustrated with other people because I've come to my conclusion already about what's going on.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's definitely one of the things like we talk about is like not giving up that speed that you have, but also being willing to see like, what does this person require in order to like receive this, and how do I have to like deliver this information? Because as X-Men, we tend to just be like, but here it is, and it's there, it's available. Come on, like, can't you get it?
Yes.
Like, a lot of people don't get it.
Right. Yeah. And it's so funny. It's like I've only had a few times probably where I've like actually gotten it from other people. Like Tiffany Brennan, like there was a time she started explaining something to me and it was like, I just got the entire download. I was like, whoa, that was neat. I was like, you don't have to say another word. I get all of it. I'm like, oh, that's the thing that I've been thinking that other people get that they don't.
Yeah. And I know there's lots of like funny stories of X-Men, thinking that they told everyone all the plans, and then they realize, they get somewhere and they're like, oh yeah, I forgot to give everyone like the time and the day and the place. I just assumed because I was thinking it, everyone else knew what was going on. Yeah, come on. We're all on the same page, aren't we?
Yeah, exactly. Oh my God, I have a lot of that going on all the time.
But that's also really cool in that, like, I think one of the things as well, like I was talking about, just enjoying, like, hanging out with you, and I think it's as well a lot of that, like, where there'll be 10 different threads going on, like, simultaneously, and you're one of the people that seem to be able to follow, like, all of the different threads and jump from one to the
Yeah.
other to
We're
the
gonna
other.
say goodbye to an ex-lady right now.
Hello, bye.
Are you bringing the keys back, or oh, I see what you're doing. There you go. It's time to go. That's what that bell means. And I was gonna go with her. I'm sorry, I'm not
Well,
going with you. She's running. She has to go quickly.
okay, you can go if you like. We can.
Oh, I still have to put shoes on and all that.
Oh, okay. All right. All right. Well, we won't. I won't keep you too much longer. But
No,
yeah.
I'm so grateful to be here. I've been watching you doing these, and I'm like, I want to be on one.
Cool.
And I'm like, who does that belong to?
It's a pleasure to have you. And I mean, it looks like you need to go, but how about let's have you on again and have another chat when you have a bit more time and space.
Thank you. Well,
Awesome.
you had one more thing that you were saying
I was
before
just talking
Liliana
about
passed through?
that. Like, I think the ability with ADD to, like, have your attention on multiple things simultaneously and jump from one to the other. And when you're with someone who gets it, it's like you can. If someone was looking at it from the outside, they'd be like, "These people have, like, this conversation makes absolutely no sense." But it makes sense to you when you're when you have this different way of functioning.
And well, just to the T of, like, your call, like your Facebook lives here, I love it. The Xponentialize, like, I didn't. I started out with, like, how the hell are people paying attention to, like, multiple chat threads? I'm like, I can handle 2 Skype threads. That's it. When I first started, and then it just slowly got to bigger and greater. And I still have moments where I'm like, oh my god, there's, like, WhatsApp over here. I, like, never see messages from it. So I just start asking questions, like, okay, because if I try to force myself to look at it, that never freaking works. So I'm just like, okay, what's it going to take to start paying more attention to that one, or having ease with, like, being aware of that one? So, but yeah, I've got probably 5 different apps that I'm looking at chats in. I don't know if I'm very good at it, but I'm definitely better than I used to be.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that is the thing. It's always, like, growing and expanding. And I totally know what you mean. It's like, wake up and there's, like, a million different things in a million different places. But I get there's a whole lot more we can talk about, but I'm going to let you go and have an awesome time at Global Bars with Brendan and the foundation and everything, and enjoy Mexico. And let's chat again soon.
Yeah, and when's your next 2.5 day? Because I got to do a 2.5 day with you.
There's one coming up in, I think, the beginning of actually it's the end of March. Sometime in the end of March.
You mean May?
May, yeah. See, there you go.
That's great.
In a year's time, come back in March 2022. In March.
I'm like, didn't we just do March? I was like, March is over. And I'm like, wait, April's even almost over.
I just picture the first letter and I'm like, it starts with M. I know it starts with M.
Yeah. Oh my god. The amount of chats I read where I only read the first letter, and then although Gary did mention to somebody to read backwards, and I thought I would never be able to do it. And I started reading backwards. It works really well.
Oh, maybe I need to try that out.
Like, over here on my phone, it says, you're in the show. Everyone can see you and hear you. But instead of reading like that, you go, you hear and see can everyone. Show the in your.
It sounds like what Spanish seems like to me. It's like everything's back to front. It's like, the white horse, and you say horse white. It's like, what?
Yeah.
Fun. I've been watching The Resident Alien. I know a few people have been watching it, but it's so funny to me as well that it's like, it totally seems like it's got a bit of an X-Men thread in it. I don't know if you've watched it at all, but
I haven't started watching it yet, but it reminds me a lot of the book The Stranger in a Strange Land, and I'm all about it.
Yeah, awesome. All right, my friend, I'll let you go. Thank you so much, and
Thank you, sir.
chat to you again soon.
All right.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for
Bye.
watching.